Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 4, Episode 20, The Super Shredder. Now, of course, we had our normal break, a couple weeks. We come back to a great episode. I was glad I was even able to see this episode, even though this is basically a full week late. Um, I was happy to finally see this episode. I knew what it was titled, and I was like, holy crap, I can't wait to see, this freaking episode. Fortunately, the only reason I actually even got to see this episode even a week late was because I'm at my aunt's house right now, and her info automatically logged in when I went to Nick's website because they have that stupid service provider thing, which I hate when everybody uses that, but I assume in some regard it makes websites money. You would think they would make more money not doing that because more people would actually be able to watch the freaking episodes, but either way, I actually got to see it because I was able to use her information to log in and watch Nick. So just right off the bat, it was called the Super Shredder. We knew what we were in for. I was super excited for it, and it was a great episode. Oddly enough, as epic as it was as far as an action episode, or even just all of it together was just crazy. There wasn't much story to it. It was kind of it was the sort of storytelling mode where you just see the story. There wasn't really exposition. There was none to be had. It was kind of well, he's Super Shredder. He doesn't like this dude. He never has, and he wants his daughter back. And that was pretty much the whole story of the episode. And it was shown more than said in this one. And I actually enjoyed that. I was like, this was really, it's one of those things where when you go, kind of go through it, it's there was not nearly as much dialogue as there would be in another episode. I feel like this was honestly, and most likely I'm wrong, but I feel like this was almost an even split down the middle of 50% was talking, 50% was action, compared to 80% talking and 20% action. It was we had the intro, and we had, of course, our couple of moments where they, would freeze, and it's what the heck is this? And then, of course, there was tons of dialogue. Excuse me. But there was so much action in this, and if it wasn't them actually fighting, the action was them going from place to place, because even that in this episode was an insane journey where I don't know what the deal was, but for whatever reason, Shredder was on this insane super mind F villain type mode where he was just I'm gonna mess with you mentally. The first place we're gonna meet is the first place or the last place I defeated you, so everybody goes to the sewers. Sorry, I keep coughing, but everybody goes to the sewers. Karai is strung up, and we have these pictures and stuff, and Mikey, when they get to the second location, he makes a good point where it's horror movie stuff, and it's there's Shredder stalking them and mentally just screwing around with Splinter more than anybody else. And I just love the way that played out through the episode. And they get to the first place, and they see all the pictures and stuff, and they go through, and Karai was I'm so sorry, I keep coughing. But Karai wasn't there until the very end, actually. But they go through and they see all the pictures and stuff like that, and they're getting set on fire, and then it's look out when they have the first moment, and they'll have to dive in the water, and the ring of fire torches all the pictures and stuff, and they're sending them on this crazy journey. Then the next place is the subway station, or the subway tunnel, where Karai was holding them all hostage at one point, and it's he's sending them through these very pivotal moments of the Turtles versus the Foot, basically. And I just loved it. And then they have that crazy experience where it's alright, well, we're gonna do this, but that's when they get split off. Basically, it was after that first part, they were all split off from Splinter, and then it just got insane. So they actually get sent off to something that's more specific to the Turtles themselves, and Splinter ends up going towards Karai, and that's when he sees her in more pictures. And the Turtles are in the subway and stuff, and they have to deal with Tiger Claw, and it was just great. I was like, man, this is insane. They're on the subway, and they're fighting and getting kind of getting beat up, but also winning ultimately, surviving the crashes and stuff like that. Then they have to deal with the Footbots, which was awesome, as Splinter and Shredder actually start fighting, which is insane. And it was great. April, I thought, had a great moment in this. It wasn't they didn't really talk too much about it because there were more important things happening. But her using her psychic abilities in this episode, I thought was great. There was a scene where she's kind of just using it, kind of like a force push, where she's just, knocking stuff away from her. But the part where she was fighting, and basically she was taking out all the footbots because she was using her fan and just like, waving it around and just like sending it across the room. It was just, like chopping heads off of these robots. I was like, that was great. It was a smaller scene, but I was like, this is actually pretty freaking phenomenal to me. So I loved that. We got to see Karai actually fight in both forms. We also got to see her buddy, Shinigami, which is awesome because I mentioned when she first showed up, I really like her because she's really cool and has like pseudo magic, but not really magic powers, even though she like literally turned into bats. But they also have the egg things where like they disappear and stuff, and I'm like, that's about as close to magic as they get with the turtles. Because like even when Master Splinter used it, he used that junk at like the last second when he threw it at Shredder, and I'm like, that wouldn't have done anything. He wouldn't have got out of that. Like he was like, what, 3 feet away from him, falling at a crazy. Basically, he was falling at terminal velocity, and he threw the egg and hit him. I'm like, for the purposes of Ninja Turtles, of course he got out of that, but realistically, the physics just weren't there, as they aren't most of the times. They just throw those eggs down, and they literally disappear like ninjas. And I'm like, it looks cool every time, of course, but it's like, physics-wise, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't work. But I love what they did in this. We got to see a ton of characters. Like I said, when it started off and Shredder takes his people to Karai and Shinigami, we get to see Shinigami fight, so that was cool. Karai gets taken, so they leave Shinigami, so she might actually show up in the next episode. Once again, I would like to think Casey's going to show up. I feel like every time they show like a ton of characters, I'm always like, man, Casey's just getting a bum rap this time. Like, they show the most wide range of characters, and then Casey's just out of it. Like, everybody was in this, including Shinigami, and Casey wasn't there. He wasn't just hanging out with them. They weren't even doing anything different. They were literally having a cartoon marathon when the power went out, and I'm like, Casey would literally, like, this is almost the epitome of Casey, like, doing nothing or fighting a bunch of people. And he wasn't in the episode, and I was like, man, every time they seem to do, like, some really epic stuff, and they bring in characters you don't expect to see, or they just bring in, like, all the characters, he still doesn't show up. And technically, neither do Bebop and Rocksteady. It's kind of the same thing with the other episode. I was like, man, they brought everybody in except this one person, or them. They seem to be like the 3 characters. It's like Casey for the good guys, Bebop and Rocksteady for the bad guys. But they show up at the end, Bebop and Rocksteady. So I assume that that'll happen. They'll continue on their mission with Karai. Epic ending to the episode, of course. Like, they go to the underground city where the Rat King was, where Master Splinter fought him. So they're jumping around, and it's like, it's like they're in a different dimension or something. There's like just pillars, and then it's just smoke, and you can't see anything. So the Turtles and Karai and April, they're all fighting off the footbots, and Splinter is barely surviving against Super Shredder because, of course, he's just muscle bound. All Splinter's like epic moves aren't doing anything. He's hitting them all over the place, and it's not like before. It's not that back and forth shuffle. And Splinter realizes that, and he's like, man, I can't do this. I got to figure something out. And eventually, when he's basically pinned down, and the Shredder's kind of taunting him. The villain sort of style monologue. He's like, I'll defeat you and then kill your children and all that stuff. And he sets off the eggs and blows up, the ledge that they're on, and he takes Shredder down with him. And I think this fits in a very odd tradition of Super Shredder being destroyed. It wasn't crazy epic. It was an epic way for Splinter to do it. I think it's probably the most epic, because normally Shredder gets taken out, and it's kind of like, the original movies, it's just like, oh, some stuff. He died cooler in his normal human form, which he shouldn't have come back from because he was in a trash compactor. But he died as Super Shredder because some, a pier fell on him and stuff like that. So it's like this, as far as what I can remember, this is probably the most epic way he's ever been defeated compared to, like a pier fell on him. The live action Ninja Turtles movie, he wasn't even the main villain. Or he wasn't the final villain, I guess. Slight spoilers for that, but he wasn't. But yeah, just the way they typically do it. I guess the TMNT version is pretty freaking epic. So I guess, last cartoon versions did it pretty well. But it was just like, man, Donnie says, like, that's like a 1,000-foot drop or something. Like, even Master Splinter couldn't survive that, but of course, one of them will. I would assume that if not both, I don't think that they'd actually kill off Master Splinter. I mean, it's Master Splinter. I haven't even, because I don't read the comics, I've never had that experience where it's ever been the Turtles without Splinter, at least permanently, because of course they had that temporarily where it was like, man, basically the whole, I guess, third season, because I can't remember because of how the seasons are all split up, like we're on episode 20, and I had to check that one. I was like, is it 20? Like, it should be 2, right? Because just, the way they split everything up. So I think season 3, when they were at the farm, that was a bit different. So we had that, but we knew Splinter was coming back. And I assume that he will. I don't think they're going to find, like, Master Splinter's dead body or something insanely depressing like that. I don't think we'll have that. But it's interesting that this is what they're going to go through again. And it's kind of for the same reason. It's like the only time that happens is because of Shredder. Every time that the Turtles have been without Master Splinter. And also, it wasn't the last season that was Space. The season before that was the farm. And then the last season was Space. And it was the same thing, but we knew, because that whole season was like, alright, well, we're traveling through time. The whole point is, like, we're going to fix it. So it was kind of the same thing, where it's like, it keeps getting fixed. Like, either they find Master Splinter at some point, or he does die, which I guess, technically we have had it, but I guess once we knew they were jumping through time, it was kind of like, alright, well, we know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to fix it. So it's one of those situations where it keeps happening, like you want it to keep being good because it's Master Splinter. You don't want any of the characters to die, but it's one of those things where they keep having a character, exact same situation too. It's Splinter and Shredder. Shredder's the only person that could possibly take out Splinter, and vice versa. That's the only way it is. It's like eternal rivals, Splinter and Shredder. So whenever Splinter is gone, it's because of Shredder. He either beats him or he kills him because he's so insane that he'd rather destroy the entire planet, and get his final kill on his rival than save the entire freaking world. So, this is the third time we've had it happen where Shredder has taken out Splinter in some way, shape, or form. He's caused it where Splinter isn't there anymore. And this time, at least in this regard, I'm happy that it was at least Splinter's choice, because the other times it was like he was defeated. So they couldn't do it that time. Or, he didn't have any choice in that. He fought and he lost. The last time he literally died because he literally got stabbed in the back because the Shredder's, that's how bad of a villain he is. Like, he's just that insane. And this time it was like, no, he wanted to go out and was like, I'm going to take you with me. Like, I'm not going to let you hurt my children. So it was really cool. I like the way they did it. It was like, at least this time, Master Splinter wasn't just beat. He would have been, because of course this time it was really, against him with the Super Shredder stuff. But I was glad it was at least somewhat on his own terms, because just looking back at the other times, I'm like, man, Splinter's too cool to just be losing. Like, I could see if it was a tie, but every time he I guess that makes sense, because he wouldn't disappear if he won, so it kind of has to be that way. And plus, he's beaten up Shredder a million times too. Like, the one time, I think the first time they fought, he like destroyed him, and there were a couple other times as well. But I'm excited to see this next episode. I don't know where they're taking it, but I'm definitely excited to see where it goes. It seems like it's going to be these are definitely 2 good episodes, and the way it ends has me excited, because I thought it was just going to end where they're like, oh man, what are we going to do? Master Splinter's gone, and he may or may not have killed Shredder along with himself. But they don't even get time to relax. Like, the door explodes, and then finally we get to see Bebop and Rocksteady come in. And it was just like, dang, they don't get a break this time. I thought it was going to end on a somber note, and it's like, nope. It's still somber, but it's like you don't get the time to rest and be sad. It's like, all right, you're sad, and boom, back to the insane action, because Shredder had a plan, and he had everyone in on it in this one. He was like, this is how this will play out. So now that they're both gone, at least temporarily, the Turtles have to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, I'm sure they're going to escape. It's the Turtles. They are the heroes. They are the good guys. That's just how it's going to be. But I'm really excited for this next episode. I am hoping that Casey shows up, because I feel like he's always missing out on like the big team moments. I feel like he should always be in there, and he's sadly absent. But hopefully Casey shows up. I really hope Shinigami's in the next episode too. I have a bit of a crush on her, honestly, but hope she shows up because I really like her. And then I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if we should expect them to find Master Splinter or what the case is in this very next episode. But I'm excited for it for sure. Love this one. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts, and of course, it's the third time, so I want to know what you guys think. I like I said, I really don't think Master Splinter's gone, even though it's the third time that this has happened. I don't think they're gonna end, especially both the characters or either of them. I think Shredder could live because of the Super Shredder stuff, but I don't think they're gonna kill off Master Splinter. But I do want to know your predictions. Are they gonna kill off Master Splinter? Maybe they'd kill off Shredder, and then we fully get into the Krang stuff with the new versions of Shredder and things like that. Will they kill them both off? Which I think is like almost impossible. Like, as much as the Turtles are like literally it's named after them, you just can't have Ninja Turtles and not have either Shredder or Splinter. Like, you can kill Shredder, but you can't kill Shredder and Splinter. It's I don't know. It's like it's just not the Turtles if you don't have at least one of them. Like it's just it feels wrong. Like it seriously does. It's like you can't have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles without their greatest villain and their father. It just doesn't, without either of them, it just doesn't work to me. So, I don't know. We'd love to know your predictions and, of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.